Boom, and we are live. This is just going to be a very quick one. Some people have asked for some Kaossilator tutorials, and I'm very happy to give them. I'm about to explain in 50 minutes from now why these are going to be really hard for me to do from now on. I want to keep doing these videos. I really enjoy doing this sort of thing, but I've got to take a bit of a break. However, I do want to leave this before I go, and I'll probably, even as I take a bit of a break, as is going to happen, I'll probably try to post these every now and again, videos like this. So enjoy. I'm going to take you through some of the basics. I've done this before, but I'm going to do it again. I'm going to introduce you to the iKaossilator, which I find very easy for making music with, and just I'm going to take you in through as if it's the first time that you've just installed this app, either on your iPhone or your iPad, and how I suggest you get started. So I've done this before, but and today in this one I'm going to try to break this up. Today I'm just going to focus on beats, making a beat. You know, you can play around with the rest of the stuff forever. So here is the app. It's installed. It's what you see is what you get. There's a lot of stuff up here which frankly you don't really need to worry about yet. You know, I think when you're just playing around, you'll see there's a bunch of pre-installed tracks here. These will give you an idea of what the app is capable of. And they're quite nice. You know, some house. Quite like this one actually. I should make more like this. Anyway, these give you an idea of the kind of sounds that you can get out of the app. And you can actually look at them very closely and see, try to figure out, reverse engineer. You can open up this one, see what's happening with the beat here. You look at this one, there's the upper, there's the bass, and there's those keyboards taken out. And what are they doing with the beat here? Let's take a look. So that's a hi-hat, and that's just a minimal beat. And let's even take out the hi-hat. And you can see what they're doing there, you know, with the finger on the hi-hat. They're not just holding it in one place, they're playing around with it. And what are they doing with the... There's the hi-hat, you can see what it's doing. You can also see that it's got the beat loop amounts, like this is going, for example, for 64, whereas this is only going for 16. You can see the BPM is 120. So it's nice to sort of figure out how the app works first, to look at the presets. However, what you really want to do is what I want to do with you guys today, which is start with new. Go to a blank preset. So you can see everything is here, and by default, it's got these. It's got 5 channels. They're all different colors. You can actually have the same thing on all 5 channels if you want. This is more of a suggestion by Core. It's got the beats on the left. These are like fixed beat loops. These are like percussion. These are, what do they call these? These are like organs and chords. Indeed, chord. And you got bass. And over here, you've got what they call lead. There's also this acoustic lead if you want that, which isn't included. There's like 6 different types of sounds. Today we're going to focus pretty much just on the beats and the percussion. Just the bass element. So it starts out by default here on the very first. You see they're on drum. There it is, electric house. So we'll take this as the default, and it gives you an idea of how Kaossilator works. Hey Hope Toker, I've downloaded Fruity Loops Studio, FL Studio, but it's just so big I haven't gotten into learning it, and I find this very quick and efficient to use. But yeah, so let's just see what it sounds like. Basically, what you'll find with Korg is that in essence this is divided into quarters, and every quarter, the upper left, upper right, lower left, lower right, will have different sounds. There's the upper left, upper right, lower left, lower right. Now those are very different beats. However, you also find on the fringes that it does some interesting things, and sometimes up and down or left to right there'll be some variation. So let's see how this varies. It gets louder at the top, and down the bottom doesn't really vary in that. It varies within this. Let's go across. it actually increases. It gets more distorted as you go up, so this seems to correspond to distortion. This sounds very 8-beat over here actually, whereas this sounds more. And then on the very far right, you get what I like to think of as the build-up drums, for example. Over here, this is something that you typically put on the end of a beat set on a 4, 8, 16 beat. So you can sort of see what I'm saying. Down here. I don't really hear any variance up and down on that, but obviously over here you can hear the break that you'd use for variation. There's two ways to do a variation, by the way. So here you've got extreme beats, and on the left side you've got no beats. It can be nice actually to do a break sometimes. Now, when I started using this, I did the logical thing, which is that you sort of start with a quiet beat and you build it up. And break. This is pretty normal. This is a club beat. However, I really picked up on a few things. What was funny was, oh, whoops, bumped the camera. I gave this to my son one day, and I saw how he started playing around with it, and it was really interesting. He did this. He just started putting his finger all over the place, and he let go of it, and it was doing something like this, for example. And I was like, damn, son, that's pretty cool. This is the great thing about Kaossilator. It isn't that you, I've got a great analogy for using Kaossilator, and it's what I'd heard about Public Enemy when they discovered the beat, when they made the beat for Fight the Power. Apparently it was three guys scratching samples and records for like hours and hours and hours, and all of those hours of scratching making all this terrible noise. They were listening to what was working and what wasn't working, and they found that beat for for Fight the Power. And it was like 2 seconds out of hours of playing, but they all heard it, and at the same time they went, that, get that. And it wasn't like consciously designed. It wasn't like hitting a note or thinking of a melody and going and recreating the melody. It was just messing around a lot. But it's not so much the messing around. It's recognizing in all of the coal, it's recognizing the diamond that you see. And Kaossilator makes it really easy to play around and get lots of really interesting variations, and it's structured in a way that makes it always on beat or in melody, that it can work. And it's more about your ability to recognize and pick out things that work, or how that's working and that's interesting. So I'll take this, and maybe I want to vary that, for example, by having a regular, maybe I'll put a hi-hat beat over here. So I'll open up the menu, and I will recognize, so let's put a hi-hat loop in there. Oh, that's not recording. And you can take a bass that's interesting, and you can just develop it in ways that you get a sound that you might have not gone out to design. Sometimes you can design something. In fact, I do that all the time. But what is really fun and interesting about iKaossilator is it gives you lots of opportunities to actually distort and change stuff. This is why they call it iKaossilator. It encourages you to do chaotic stuff, to discover cool stuff, and this is what I like about this. You do have certain sounds, beats. Obviously, the screen and the interface is divided in a certain way. But there is actually, I would say, as much as it's worthwhile learning what the sounds are and how to manage those things, there's also a lot of fun and very much worthwhile when you've got something that you like to save it and copy it, and on the copy start messing around and finding out what the app will discover for you that you can do to vary it up. So a little bit about the structure of the app again. I showed you before. You've got basically, ignore the top for now. You've got these 4 categories over here. Over here you've got melody and key. You've got different sort of chord scales, for example, that produce different sounds. moving all over. It'll make sure everything is always in the scale or the melody, the melodic structure of those different scales. But given that we're doing beats today, don't worry about that. It can just make it interesting to vary. Of these ones, I find pretty consistently the first 2 rows are always really nice, sort of happy sounding, sort of major keys. Going further down, the ones that I find I really like, Japan and Ryuku always sound really good. I find the penta ones work out pretty well, and sometimes actually you want sort of an off-sounding one anyway. It can work for different sorts of sounds, but it's worth playing around with those. And of course you've got a key down the bottom. These are good when you're playing with melodies, chords, lead, acoustic, bass, but we're not going to do that today, so you can ignore this. 2 is important. 2 is beat. It's set for 120 by default. 120 is a slow house beat. It's I always think of it when I was a DJ and I'd beat count. This is Sex on the Streets by Pizza Man. But for example, if you want to do like a hip hop beat, you're talking like 190 or whatever. And I find actually sometimes I'm thinking of a track to start with, like a bass track, something that I want to emulate. And just think of that track. And if you tap up here in time with the beat, it's a beat counter. It will go along with that. So for example, let's think of a track that I like that's not 120. Let's go for Chad Jackson. I think it's, in fact, it's actually a marquee. Well, anyway, it's Chad Jackson. Here, the drummer get wicked. So so it's about 105. Tap it there to make it accurate. So this is 105 now. It's a bit slower. It's basically kind of a fast hip hop. What do these other things mean? Quantize means that if you are hitting keys, it will make sure it will always hit. Here's like a 4, so this will mean it will only hit a dun 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 dun. 8 means dun 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 dun, which means I can be going like this, but it will only take the ones that are on those every 8 beats. 16 of course is twice of that, so da, 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 da. And it's really nice to use 16 when you want to do like arpeggios. It's really nice if you do like an arpeggio, you go all over the place, and then you come back and you hit 8 and 4 to make it more like melodic on the main beats, like on top, to make sure that those structured beats are really good. And 32 is basically sort of just full going crazy. But again, we're doing beats today. This is good for percussion. It's good for making sure that random percussion that you put in is on beat. But it's not so important for the drums in general. What this loop quantize down the bottom means is it means that when you are switching between loops here, which I showed you before when I was switching between different ones, it's how many beats it will wait before it will switch. So for example, if I show you these, if I'm playing this house 1 and I say go to the next one, if I'm using loop quantize 64, it will play 4 bars of that before it will switch over the track. And this is, sometimes you can say 1 beat, it can just flip over in 1 beat, or you can wait 64 beats. It's just a question of, do you want to be able to flip loops anytime, or do you want to do it, like you're mixing a set? So again, for this one, the BPM is the key one. When you're starting out, you can really ignore the rest of it, frankly, especially if you're dealing with drums, but just be aware. This one up here is to do with when you strike stuff randomly, it will force it to be on beat. But how on beat do you want to be able to do it? Do you want to do it on full 4 beats, or on half of that, or 8 beats, or 16 beats, or not beat constrained, by which case you do all for 32. And loop quantize, that's how you decide how it flips between loops, but not so important, those two. These are your banks. You've got all sorts of drums here and all sorts of samples to base off. And you know what, I started out, and this is another fun thing, so I played around with this on this electric house beat. And let's come back to this. Ooh. So you can hear that. It can be fun to actually change the beat, because the whole pattern will be different. Actually, that's kind of nice. So that's a deep house doing the same thing that I was doing before. It's kind of nice. This one I accidentally made electric house when it was actually a hi-hat. So let's go back and make this a hi-hat again. Wow, that's really nice. I mean, this is Kaossilator. So anyway, that's where you select the types of beats, the types of beat loops that you want. And down here, this is the length of the sample. So for example, I can do this. That's just making that hi-hat, that first one. In fact, let's just take the hi-hat off for a moment, just so that you can get a bit idea with one back of what's going on. So right now, this is a 4-beat. Dum, 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 boom, dum. That's what a 16/16 is. It's a basic 4-beat. Now, if I make that, now for example, if I want to do like a big build-up, I might do. This is like a 1-beat. Now that's a regular 4-beat. That's where we started. Now, say for example, I want to do a 4/4-beat, like a regular, like most club tracks are based on 4/4 beats. There are 4-beat 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that's a 64/16. Half of that, an 8-beat, that's 32. And sometimes the reason you might want to use particularly a 4/4 beat, which is what I like to do for everything, is you look at where the arrow is going on this. That's the start of the 4-beat there. And this will count all the way to 16. And sometimes on that final 16, you might want to do a variation. Oh, in fact, I did that at the wrong time. So now, for example, 8, 9, 10. It's kind of nice. I like this. Itai. So you hear that? That's a 4-beat with a bit of a bump, 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 and that's a nice if you want to do a transition or something like that. It makes the beat complement the transition. And now I've got this on just a 1-beat on the hi-hat. And you know what? That kind of works actually. Sometimes you might want that sound. But there again, I originally had this on an 18, and it's a totally different sound. But I quite like that. And you can do these irregular numbers like a 3-beat. And listen to what that does. It does this sort of crazy thing. It's not on the 4-beat, but you know, again, it can produce really, really interesting sounds. And again, just particularly with beats. So with beats, this is really, really interesting. This is sort of basically how long it will play the loop. And you can see the little wheel going around, which represents how far along it is on the loop. So you can use this to basically build up. And based on this, once you get your loop right, you can just randomly go through what sort of melody you want to make. And I like to just do this randomly as possible. Let's make that Egypt. I don't know, let's do an Egypt melody. And let's just do random bass and random lead. And play with this. Oh, that wasn't intentional. That doesn't sound good. Oh, that's because that's on a 32, which means it doesn't sound on beat. So I'm going to put this on a 8, and I'm going to cancel for that part, just that chord. To undo that, I'm going to try this again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Oh. Wait. Okay, let's go through. Right now it's on a 16, so although I did kind of a cool thing there, it just played the last 4 beats. So let's make this a 32. It's kind of nice. Egypt. Okay, that's a bit long. Let's just clear that out, make it a bit of a longer thing for the loop. Ooh. Okay, let's put an upper on it. Oh, and you know what? Let's make this a. Let's just make this something acoustic. Let's make a white live. Egypt. I don't use this very often, but it's a nice sound. Let's see what it sounds like first. Okay, I think if I just tap that, that sounds kind of good. I want to hit that a bit longer. Ooh. You can press multiple times at once. Let's just see. Actually, no, you can't. You can't. What you can do is you can put two channels which are the same bass. So you can do it like you can press one on one and one on another channel to get like a chord, but you can't. It's kind of nice. I'm going to save it actually. I might play around with that later. And by the way, just for an illustration, you can see at the bass. Loud here, quiet here. But it's actually, I quite like that quiet bass. It's nice. In fact, just for an illustration, so that's a low boost bass, and that's a wah clave. But let's make this low boost bass. Where did I get that? Low boost bass here. Let's see what it sounds like now. I mean, I wouldn't normally do this, but you can see how you can do that into chords. I quite like that. I quite like that. And I quite like. That's pretty nice. I'm gonna play with this. So anyway, that is 20 minutes, but that's just like getting into, if you're using this for the first time, the whole point of iKaossilator is that you mess around with it. You press this record button to record your loops. If you want to record something to upload onto SoundCloud or whatever, what you do is you go into this live recording, and at the end you'll be prompted to put in your information for whether you want to save it to, or you can just, you don't even have to do that. If you make a nice loop, you can just go into export audio, and based on the export you can upload to Dropbox. You can upload it, which will just be a short loopable file which you can put onto your, for example, if I wanted to put this on a background to one of my YouTube videos, I can audio copy that and put that onto iCloud, for example, which means I can use it in iMovie. I could use it in GarageBand. I could use it, I could upload the file onto SoundCloud and just download the WAV and use it on my computer. So it's really easy to make these cool kind of loops. I could totally use that loop just right now that I could make in 5 seconds, honestly, 30 seconds, and I could put it into a video that I'm editing on my mobile phone. I could do it all on mobile, and that is super cool. Yeah, Tainaka, it is cool. That does it. Again, it's random. Sometimes it will give you control over volume, sometimes it will be distortion or other effects. I do wish that this gave you more controls. I wish it had more channels. I wish you could control volume and distortion on each channel, but then it would be kind of be a different device, and this is an emulator of the hardware device. So it's not, it's not perfect. I always find that the bass on this is always way too heavy. Sometimes I want to make it more subtle and allow the lead sounds to come out more, but that said, I find it so flexible and easy and fun to play around with, especially like on the train or for jamming out a quick track or a background. It's a fantastic app. I suggest start with the beats. Play around with these. It's got some fantastic beats in here, and you can do really cool things and start figuring out the 4 quadrants, the far right, for build-ups, and the far left for for making it quiet. But then do random shit. Just mess around. You can really get some really cool things out of this. I'm gonna leave it there. I'm gonna do Tokyo tonight in about half an hour. Heads up for those watching this. It's gonna be an announcement that I don't really want to make, I'm afraid. But it's been a really good year, and I'm going to have an open mic, so I'm going to allow people on the show. I'm going to do a bit of an announcement at the end of the show. Yeah, it's been, hope you've enjoyed this. I hope this helps you figure out a little bit how to get into this yourself. It's a little bit expensive, this app, but it's worth it. You spend hundreds of dollars on getting the hardware device or a PC version or something like this that does what this does. And for me, it's amazing. I've made 100 tracks based on this, and some of them, a couple of them, one or two, sound pretty good. So I hope you enjoyed that. This is a tutorial thing. I will add these in from time to time and show more subtle tricks and so on, but these are sort of the basics of how to get into it. Set your beat, pick a nice drum beat, mess around, find something nice, record the loop, decide how long you want to make the loop, and just build it out. And if you don't know what to do, just go back to the original tracks and sort of listen to them one by one. You mute, by the way, by going down and up. You can also make a solo by just going up, solo on, and you can undo that by going up, and then it brings all the other ones back online. But again, you play around with it and you figure it out. It's very simple. So yeah, anyway, I'll be back probably. And see you soon, half an hour at Tokyo tonight. Nice to see you, Ty and Herb Tokyo. Peace. Bye.